somebody should let them in eventually. Well, I'm pretty sure Rick was standing like right there. Well, we'll get started, and if those poor people at the glass door get in, that's great. Hi, I'm Will Rice, tips team guy, lots of you. And last session in this room was the classroom panel, where we had 4 teachers talking about their experiences with classroom all the way from grade 1 to grade 12, which was really, really interesting. So if you were here, great. If you weren't here, you can always check out that live stream later. It's live now. You could scrub back and watch it during the session if you really wanted to. But this one here is all about getting started with Google Classroom. This session is for people who are just getting started, or people who have played with it last year or maybe this year, but haven't really got into the habit of using it regularly because maybe they just, they have a lot of questions, or they're just not sure how it works. Or I heard a lot of this last year, teachers who tried it, disliked it, stopped using it, and now they're coming back to it because they realized that how they used it last year wasn't really the right way to use it, because they were choosing to use it simply as a drive organization tool. They didn't really get the bigger picture behind it. And if you haven't played with it this year yet, there are a whole bunch of brand new features. And those features are make this way better than what it was even a year ago. As many of you know, Google takes advice, and in Classroom, this is the one place where we've seen a lot of that advice come to fruition very quickly. So we've been 1 year and 1 month since Classroom came out, and there have been something like 12 or 14 fairly mega revisions. They're going quarterly now. So you're going to see quarterly more features dropping in, and most of them come from the people that click on the little give feedback button. So they collate those. If they have like 10,000 people that all ask for the same thing, guess what? That's likely the things that we see. So feel free as we go through to ask questions. We're going to do this in a little bit of a different way. We're going to ask all of you to enroll in a class of mine so you can also get the experience of the student, because students see something very different from what you see. They see a lot of the same things, but there's a lot of more limitations. And if you've ever wanted to know what it looks like to mute someone or turn off the stream, you'll be able to see that from the student perspective today. So you'll be able to walk away with a bit of a being better able to help your students when they show you, well, I don't have the little plus symbol. Why is that? Why do you have it and I don't? You'll be able to answer that question. And I had a request last session, so we'll also try and show you guys the mobile view and some of the extras that the app allows you to do, the Classroom app. If you're on a loaner computer, some of the stuff today works best in Chrome, not Internet Explorer. It's a little plug for Chrome, because it is a Google product. And 2, if you're not logged into the browser, that extension that's sitting in the Classroom right now, don't worry about it. If you install it right now into an unlogged in Chrome browser, so if you're in a Chromebook, you're fine, but if you're on a loaner laptop and you haven't logged into Chrome, it just won't work because it doesn't know who you are. But that's sort of a little treat at the end, so don't worry too much about that. So we're going to break it down into 3 things. If you haven't joined the class, you're going to go to classroom.google.com and type that code in. We'll leave it up because I'm going to live demo this. I'm not going to use a presentation. The presentation that's linked there is for your future reference. We're actually going to live set up a class together. Step 1, you create the class and make it look how you want. Step 2, you're going to enroll your students. There's 2 ways to do that. We're going to talk about both. And 3, we're going to talk about the things you can post to the class, and then a little bit about this, and a little bit about the student view versus your view. So I don't have a whiteboard, or I'd write this down. We're not allowed to write on the walls, so I'm not going to. But I'll put this up. If someone at your table already has it, they'll be able to kind of remind you of it. If you're way in the back, I can't make the other projector work because we set up the room backwards. I apologize. Hey, live and learn. And we'll go from there. So maybe if someone at your table has paper, they'll write it down for you, or make a note in their phone, or take a picture, or something. I don't know. So we'll move on. Can you? Yeah, there's nobody behind you. Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you can see in the back. That's good. All right, so we're going to create this class, and I'm actually going to hop out of here, and I'm going to walk you through it. The first time you go to Classroom, you're going to see, I'm really going to close a few of these so you guys don't have to see my email. Yeah, there we go. The first time you go there, this is how it looks after you've set up any class. Your class is there. If you've never been in before, it's going to come up to the picture of a blackboard, and everyone says, I don't know what to do. If you actually read the blackboard, it says like, click here to start, and there's an arrow pointing to the big plus sign. But that plus sign doesn't move. Even it doesn't matter what your view is, it's in this top corner. And this is where your students go to join a class, or you go to create a class. So you would click create class. Now, I'm not going to do that because I wanted you guys to be able to pre-enroll a little bit. So after you create it, it basically dumps you into this view, right? And before you get started, there's a few things you can do. You can change your theme. If you really hate teal, you can go in here, and this is a very fond Division 1 that gets chosen a lot, jelly beans. It's much more colorful and green on my screen. Or you can actually create your own custom header, use a picture of your classroom, of your school. If you have something you're doing, you can change this throughout the year with the seasons. You just go ahead and upload a photo. Now, I'm not going to do that because I don't have a header made for you guys, but you can make anything you want, okay? The other thing is you have to make some decisions pretty quickly about things. A lot of people talk about, oh, I didn't know that kids could post in the comments stream, right? I didn't know. So I don't want them to do that. So you can set that up from the get-go. So you're going to go under your Students tab, and you're going to see here that by default, this one comes up, only the teacher can post or comment, which means right now, if you're a student in this class, you don't have the little plus symbol in the bottom right corner, right? You don't have this green thing, which I think is probably green for all of you, because that changes color with your theme, which is kind of cool. So if I pick a red theme, I'm sure it'll be better. Let's pick purple. I think everything changes actually pretty slick. Yeah, there we go. So you got purple buttons. So if I turn this on now, so you can't see that. If I turn this to students can post and comment, and you refresh your screen, that little plus symbol will come up. So it's live. If you want to turn it off and on, you can. Really, at the end of the day, what this means is that students can post to the stream. They can comment on the things you and other students post. You also have the in-between, which is you post, they comment. And this is what a lot of teachers in elementaries use. I'll post something, you may comment, but you're not allowed to post your own stuff, right? They can't do assignments. They really are just making class announcements. So that's kind of nice. The other thing is, if you, for some reason, decide you want to change your class code, I don't know why you might, I guess maybe you start getting weird kids from other classes signing in because they think it's, you know, hey, I saw a code, I'm going to sign up. You can always go in here, disable it, so nobody can register using a class code, or you can reset it. I'm not going to push this because it would change my one-time code, okay? So that's sort of the thing.
Just give us that code one more time.
Oh, it's here. Well, that's really big. Is that big enough? If it isn't, it's MV7QIFY. They started off shorter. As more and more people around the world make classrooms, the number keeps getting longer. So it might get longer yet. But it's still pretty quick. That's one way to register your students. If you are working maybe in a place where you're going to have, let's say you were working in a situation where you're going to have to email students the code anyways, you can actually go ahead and just use the invite button. So let's say I really know that I'm inviting my class today and I've got a couple of students that aren't here today and I really want them to be in by next time. I can go ahead and just say, I want to send this to Aaron. Oh, there he is. I'm going to send this to Aaron. He's not in the room right now, but I'm going to invite him anyways. And he's going to get an email that he clicks on, does the same thing. Most teachers are using the invitation code because while they have that captive audience on the first few days of school, it's just easier to say, okay, you're in. I see you're in. I have a list. Here's my class list under students, right? I can just make sure that the number of people in this list is the number of people that are supposed to be in this list. And it can be sorted right now. It's you can also sort by first or last name. So if you sort by last name, it should be in the same order as that class list you have, right? So most people are using the code and then writing it up on the board, and a new student moves in. Oh, go to classroom.google.com, sign in, right? If you have a student that moves away, right? So let's say this is a weekend, Johnny's left, Sally's come in, you've added Sally, but you don't really want Johnny, who went off to a different school, to have your classroom. He can unenroll, but you can also just go ahead and say remove, right? So I can say, Roger, I don't know Roger, but I could just kick Roger out. Hey, Roger. I could just say, Roger's moved off he's left my session, he packed up his stuff and he walked out the door and I don't want him to be in my class. I can just blow him out. So that's how you're gonna manage who's in that class. You're gonna add them by invitation or code, and you're gonna manually remove them when they leave, and you can just leave the code up, ask a student to sign up when they come in. Or you can send them an email. The one-off emails aren't bad. I have heard emails more popular, like with high school, because during semester break, when you know the kids are coming, you can actually invite them by email like several weeks before you ever see them in the class. So most of them can get that done if they're used to using Classroom in that setting. So it depends on your usage model, but that's how you get kids in. So that's your decision there. And the last section you might want to set up prior to inviting kids, this is still that build your class. The About section is like course materials. It's stuff you're going to put up for the whole year, things you want them to go to, so everything about your class. So if you have a syllabus, if you're junior high or high school, put your syllabus here. If you put it in the stream, it's going to sink to the bottom, right? If you put it here, it's always in the About. Yes, way in the back.
I'm sorry, where are you putting things that you want to keep up all year?
About. Yeah, I didn't. Stream always is a different color. There we go. I was in About, it just wasn't highlighted. And this is where you can actually do things like this. Like I've actually linked, so if you have a Google Drive folder that has all the materials for the year, all your textbooks that you want the students to use, things like that, you can just embed that whole folder. So I can go ahead and add whatever I want. So this is this Google Drive folder, but if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see add materials, right? I can go ahead and add a link to a folder, a Drive folder, a Drive document, anything I want in here. And I can do multiple things. So some teachers are doing this by unit. Okay, here's the materials for Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4. Other teachers are doing, here's everything for the year. Because if you want to read ahead, it doesn't bother me. I'm still going to assign my readings when I assign them. So it's just a place for you to put those sort of like must-haves that you don't want to vanish. So you can always say to a kid, it's in the About. It's in the About. Go to the About. All right? So once you've picked your theme, uploaded a picture, decided, yep.
With this, like I have a different type of a classroom,
Yep.
so I would be more thinking of inviting my parents as students.
Parents have absolutely zero access to Google Classroom. Only things that end in epsb.ca or uofa.ca can get access right now. So if you want, we'll talk about parent communication in a little bit, and I'll tell you some workarounds, recent development with Calendar, and then how I know other teachers are dealing with it.
Okay, my only other second part of that question
Yep.
is this site restricted and only accessed by the people who have access to it? So say for FOIP issues, if I wanted to.
Yes, don't worry, yeah, no FOIP concerns. The only people that can see these materials are the students that are enrolled in the class. And even then, if it was EPS only, it's still like, it's never sharing outside of Edmonton Public Schools. You would have to go into Drive, go to a document, and change it to publicly findable for anyone to ever see anything outside of our domain. And that's a lot of steps. You'd know you were doing it. So you pick your color, you pick your theme, you enroll your students, you decide how you're going to do that, you put your materials in About. That's sort of the easy peasy way to go, right? So you've built your course, you've invited your students, you've got your students, and they're all in there, and you have a captive audience. Now, what are you going to do with it, okay? I'm going to actually make one little change here. I'm going to change this. You guys can post, okay? So once you've done that, you're really working in the stream. Students and About, you're going to maintain. Stream is where you do stuff. This is where you post assignments. This is where you do different things. And if you can't remember your class code, it's okay because they put it right on the front screen for you too. It's there as well. So if a student comes in, you throw this up, you just point to it. It's really tiny, so you blow up your screen so people can read it better like that, right? I'm sure it does fun things on the TriCaster when I do that, but that's okay. Right, so I play with it a little bit. And it's time to post. And you can imagine if you've ever used Google+, all things Google, you look for the big plus, right? On my screen it's purple, here it's black, that's okay. So I'm gonna click the plus, and I got some options here. There are 4. One of them is brand new. 2 of them are brand new. It used to be you could do announcements and assignments. Now you have announcements, assignments, questions, and you can pull a post forward from the past. So if last year you did a great assignment and you look at it and you're like, that's exactly what I want to do again with this year's class, you click reuse post, you find it, you bump it up to this year's kids, start all over again. This is a feature School Zone had for a while where you could look at last year's School Zone posts and redo them. Same idea. We're going to work through them one by one so you guys can see what pops up on your screen. Announcements are literally what they sound like. So these are undated things, so things that don't have a date associated with them. These would be like class news items, things you just want to let the students know. It doesn't have a date. So there's no end date, there's no start date. It's just it goes into the stream and it goes there. It syncs down with everything else, like everything does. So I can this is a great way to send a quick message to the class. You can attach things here. So if you're having trouble getting YouTube videos to your students and you've approved them, this is a great way, right? So if you've got that video that you really want them to watch when they get into class, I always use the funny cat compilation. It's my favorite. Some teachers use this for do nows. If you're doing do nows in your class, this is a do now, like, okay, do now, go to this link, do this activity, right? You can add other things. You can add multiple things here, but I'll just do this. And when I post this, you're going to see one thing will happen. You're going to say, well, I don't see it. What you're going to see is a black box down here on the left that's the notification that says something new has been posted. And you need to refresh the page to see that new post. It does warn your kids, so they do have to refresh. You as the poster will see it right away, right? And if you guys feel like adding class comments, you can add comments to the stream. So you could say, for example, watch this video, tell me what you think. Don't watch the 14-minute video right now. But if you want to, if anybody randomly wants to leave a couple of comments there, please do, because then we'll be able to see them pop up. So do nows, watch this videos, comment and think, like a less structured conversation, things like that. I'll know when somebody posts because it'll tell me somebody's posted, but that's okay, we'll go on. So you can see how that would be used for a lot of different features. This is basically your catch-all thing. I gotta post something new, I gotta give my kids something. Here you go, thanks Stephanie. Thanks Helen. So while we're here, let's talk about this. I've chosen to give the class commenting ability. As Rick stated in the very last session, it's not if someone's going to post something that doesn't belong, like hi or I like eating pancakes for breakfast. The older they get, there's going to be that sweet spot, you know, they're too young to write anything really bad, but it's just like a waste of time, and then they get old enough where they know what to say and they don't have a mental filter to not say it, and then they get old enough where they know better than to say it. So in that middle, I'm going to say grade 5 to 9 probably is your sweet spot for kids who do things they shouldn't. You can point out to them that it uses their name and time stamps what they said, which is usually kind of funny. But if you have that kid and you want to have a talk with them, let's see, I'm going to say, you know what, Stephanie here, I can't believe she posted that. I told her clearly, English only in my class. And I'm picking on her because I can. I'm going to say I could delete this post and like it never happened, gone. Or I need to have a talk with that Stephanie. And a lot of teachers at the beginning were saying, well, I don't want, if one kid says something wrong, I'm going to turn it off for everyone. We have the ability here to just say, you know what, Stephanie? Just Stephanie's going to have to pay the price for her poor choices. But I'm going to leave her post up as an example to the rest of the kids when we talk about this in class tomorrow. All right, class? Stephanie posted in French again. I keep telling her to post in English. And I know that's a ridiculous thing. Whatever, kids can post whatever language they want. But at the same time, I can see it, the kids can see it, and I see that she's been muted. Now, that means that she can still get all the posts. She can still do all the assignments. She just has lost the privilege of commenting, okay? If I decide later on that I really want to unmute Stephanie, I can go back to that post. The good chance you're not going to notice that. So I'm going to say, Stephanie, I'm going to give you a 20-second timeout from posting. If I lose that post, let's say it hides up, I can't find it, I can always go back to students, look at my class list. It's going to show me who's muted. Oh, there she is, a little red mute symbol. And I'm going to unmute her. All right, Stephanie, you're back in. Yay, see, Stephanie's happy.
But you're getting more French, that's the difference.
But I can have more French, that's okay. I'm okay with it. I was just using it. Nobody wrote anything jerky, so I didn't really have a lot to choose from. So that's an announcement. So think of this as school zone class news, right? Okay, the second one is assignment, and assignment is where you're gonna have a whole whack of different choices. You're gonna give an assignment. Okay, I really gotta work on my spelling. I can give a description or not. I can give it a due date. A new feature this year is I can give it no due date, so I can post an assignment that's the whole year. So journal writing, for example. I want a journal that's gonna go the whole year. I don't have to go put June 30th as an end date. I can just leave it undated. Or I can give it a date. I'm gonna give it a date. You all have an assignment. It could be due tomorrow. Yeah, 7th. Yeah, thank you. And I can also give it a time if you really, really want to be specific. I want it by midnight. And I'm going to save that due date. And now this is what's a new feature too. Last year you could only add one thing to a document, one thing, right? Now you can add multiple items. So again, I'm going to go ahead and say back to our cats video. It's always a safe bet. So I want you to watch this video, and I'm going to put that up here in the description in a second. And I'm also going to, you can attach a file, so if you have a PDF, but we're going to go to Drive because we can do something cool. And let's see if we can find a template. So using your nice Google Picker, you're going to scroll down. Here we go. Now, one of the neatest things I learned last year was, so one of the key features of Drive is it auto names and auto shares the files. And teachers were saying, well, yeah, but when I do just prompt writing, I don't have a template, right? It's no template. And a teacher said, oh, that's easy. You just create a document, give it a title, but don't type anything in it. It's a blank piece of paper. And use the blank template. So it's basically you're just handing out the sheet of paper to the kids. And it's going to do it. So I'm going to do that for you guys. I'm going to add that. So now I've watched the video, do this writing prompt. But over here, where it says students can view file, that'll auto share it. I'm going to actually say make a copy for each student. So what this is going to do is, for every one of you, when you open that assignment, it's going to create a document with the title, the writing prompt title, dash your full name. It's going to automatically share it with me and put it in a Drive folder, all organized by that assignment in class, just for me. So all the stuff in Division 1 where it's like the kids can't find my name because they don't know it, and they can't title the name properly, and they don't put their name on the document and all that, all goes away in Google Classroom. They click open, they click start, it does it all for them. So we'll go ahead and do this and you'll see what it looks like. And I'm going to click assign. I do have the option here, if you like working ahead, you could do this, or I could save this as a draft and release it tomorrow morning to my class, so I could get it ready the night before and let it go tomorrow. The last group did talk about wishing they could do a timed release. You can't, but we'll ask for it. You never know. Yep.
I was just going to say, it's really important that you make that copy for each student
Yep.
prior to
Oh yeah.
minutes.
If you do it now, it'll do it. If you go back and edit the assignment later, you can't do it. So it's one time. You do it at the start. You could reuse the post, edit it, and go from there. But I'm just going to click assign here. And what it's doing, it takes a little while because right now it's in the background spinning off docs for you guys. It'll go for a while. We're all on Wi-Fi. It's okay. It goes a little slow. And what you're going to see is an assignment. You're going to see a notification bar that says something's been posted. You're going to refresh, and you're going to see that you have an assignment eventually. Let me know if that happens. There we go. And I get right away, the teacher has this that the students don't. I can see that 34 have been assigned, 0 are done. Obviously 0 are done. Now, you might ask, where is that? That's a good question. So you can go, if you have more than one class, you could, if you have more than one class, you're going to see all the assignments for all of your classes in one place. In this case, this is you guys here. You can see I set something for a ridiculous December 18th date at another in-service I was doing. So I can go into this assignment, and this is probably my new favorite view. So for teachers that found Drive, Google Drive, really confusing because it's folders of folders of folders of thousands and thousands of documents, you theoretically can use Google Docs with your students without ever going into Drive anymore, other than to create your templates if you need them. Because what I can do is I can go back in here and I have my class list of who's done and not done. I can mark if I want to. But right here I can see Jazz has started because I see a thumbnail. Roger has not even opened that assignment yet because of that, right? I can see that David here probably has started somewhere along the way, but you can see that it just pops up as thumbnails, right? So if I want to look at this assignment, I just click on it and it opens it doesn't take me to Drive, it opens that document for me to look at. I don't have to ever go to my Drive, right? So if you're someone who found Drive confusing and you lose things, it's all held within Classroom now. So I can see that this has been started, but it's not done. That's okay, I can close that. And you also have a neat feature, which is right here at the top. You can sort by done and not done. So if the due date comes and goes, you can just say, show me the ones kids didn't hand in, the ones kids aren't done. Click on them and see maybe they did do it, but they forgot to press the turn in button. And for those of you as students who've opened that doc, you'll see a new button at the top called turn in. And that's how all turn in does is tell me you're done. So right now you have full editing privileges. I have comment and view privileges. So I can comment and suggest, right? When you press the button, we flip. You can't edit it anymore. You can just look at the comments and look at it. I can do the editing. So that's your summative. So if you're a hard deadline person and you were worried about Google where the due date was Friday, but those kids figured out you're not marking it till Sunday, so they work on it Saturday morning, if they've turned it in, they can't edit it anymore. Now they could unsubmit it, except if they unsubmit, it all gets tracked, right? So you can go in, well, if there's one here, somebody has to click to done. Who's my dones? That's what I need to know. I'm gonna go to done, okay. So here's this one here, right? If I go to David here and I click on him, I can see the submission history. So I can see the date and time he turned it in. And if he unsubmits it, it'll say he unsubmitted it at a date and time and then handed it back in. So I'm like, wait a minute, I looked at this on Friday and it didn't look this good. And I didn't mark it till Monday because I had a family emergency. You can actually go see if a kid's been doing that. And it tracks everything. So a lot of people that were worried about Google Docs for that's kind of been resolved. And that's all in the assignment. Yep.
I just realized we can use speak to text in this too,
In parts of it you can, yeah.
but with docs, we can.
Yes. Yes. So there's a lot of reasons to use Google Docs for your assignments. You can do everything we're doing in Google Docs, you can do it with Word. Like if you are in a situation where the kids don't have Chromebooks, you're in an old-fashioned lab with Office, you can hand out a Word template. They can open it, download it, work on it, and then upload it as an assignment. And we'll talk about that when I'll show you the assignment hand-in piece as a student. So you can see here, and it also archives. So each assignment gets its own little landing page here with the instructions and the work. So that's pretty cool. You can grade. I'm not going to talk about grading because most teachers are still on the fence about whether they're going to do because if they do their grading in here, they have to transcribe the marks to Power Teacher or Power School, however you do your marks in your school. So it's kind of hit or miss for teachers. So I'm just going to leave the marking alone. Just know that you can make it marked, you can make it ungraded, or you can set any point value you want anymore. It's really just like writing it down in your do-a-tang of marks. I'm sure some of you have those still. I know I would probably. Okay, so that's that. One thing they did add this year is question. So this is like halfway between an announcement and a assignment. So let's say I get to the end of a class and there's 10 minutes, I'm going to do an exit slip, and I used to do the hand out a piece of paper and do an exit slip. What I can do now is I can create just a quick question. So it's not a full-blown assignment. I can just say, how is I'm going to get I ask honest questions. How is this going so far? The due date is like, if it's today, I'm going to actually make it today because we're here today. I'm going to say 11:14. I want this by 11. Well, we can't have that time because you guys will be at lunch already. Let's say 11:30. So I'm going to ask you before you leave at 11:30. You probably will still be here, but that's okay. I want you to post this. How's this going so far? And I can just say ask. And I get some choices. This is what I really like about the question. So unlike the assignment, kids can't see each other's answers because it's an assignment. It makes sense they don't see each other's work. In questions, I can say, let everybody see. So I can do a class poll. What should the theme of our classroom party be? And then everybody sees who said what, so it's not that I took the secret ballots and just picked the one I wanted as the teacher. I'm sure no one's ever done that. Because I didn't want a SpongeBob SquarePants party. So I just, yeah, that didn't win. Anyways, oh, I'm on video. Some kids are very sad right now. That's okay. You can let them see and reply to each other's answers or edit their answers. So you could actually post a question for the week, and it could be, what side of the fence are you on this topic? They can actually go back and change their thinking throughout the week if they get their minds changed by the lessons, right? So pre-assessment to post-assessment, I'm going to let you do that, and I'm going to ask it. So basically what I'm creating, if you guys are familiar with a forum, you guys know forums, like when you go on the web and you see like in the customer service where somebody asks a question and there's a whole bunch of conversation below, I just created a mini one by asking this question. The nice thing I like about this is that it lets you all see each other's. So when we're talking about building digital literacy and digital citizenship and responsible use, this is an opportunity to actually engage them in how do you use this type of tool productively and responsibly? Well, how do you speak to each other? How do you talk to each other? Because that's a skill that if we could teach them in elementary, it would really fix a lot of the issues. Like when I was in school as an administrator, it was the grade 6 girl Facebook problem. Because they aren't even really saying anything too bad. It's just the tone is so horrible that they just it adds up over time to like, you don't like me and I don't like you, and really, they just are typing all in caps and not using punctuation. So this is a great opportunity to kind of teach them that. It sounds funny, but when parents come in with their 20 pages of things printed off Facebook to have you deal with, it's a lot less fun. So David is super confused. Sorry, David.
I have a quick question. I noticed that when you're posting assignments, I'm getting emails.
Yes, you're going to get emails if you guys want. So here's the default setting is emails are on. I'll show you how to turn that off right after. You kids have to turn it off, but you do too.
So if I have kids populated into my classroom and I send an assignment out, it will send them emails.
Yes. Yes. And if they're on their iPhone, iPad, or Android device, it'll give them a notification pop up. They can turn it off. That's the one thing. We can't lock it on.
I have a question. It's got my answer and type your answer, but then it says I can also add a private comment.
Yes. So that's just like on Facebook or any other social media. If I wanted to reply, right, I can post, but you can also, I'm not going to mute them. You also can just send a private message to that person. So let's say you wanted to say, let's say it was a touchy subject. Let's say you're talking mental health in your junior high or high school. Somebody posts something that's like, hey, I know how I want to say I know how you feel, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable posting that to the class. I could just send you that message. It's basically an email.
So when I add a private comment, that doesn't get...
It just goes to that person. Yeah. We'll talk about comments in a sec because they're a little different. So I'm glad somebody's learning some things. Thank you, Helen. Gold star for Helen. Just kidding. So anyways, questions are really interesting to me. I'm really fascinated with how you might use them to foster citizenship and literacy and good etiquette, because really we're talking, it's a great etiquette opportunity. I would suggest that if your students are not familiar, that you actually do some lessons and modeling of posting before you just throw them in there and say, hey, go to town, everybody. I would suggest always scaffolding that skill set. I would talk to them about it, showing them how it tracks everything. I would talk to them about how it date stamps. I would talk to them about how consequences are. You might get muted or removed from that. Talk about those things up front. And you likely will have fewer problems, just making it clear and transparent. And talk to, if you want to, this is all sealed within the district. That's the other great thing. It's not a public-facing anything. So you don't have to worry that the kids are using this tool to talk to people outside of that class for reasons they shouldn't. It's all sealed up inside. For me, I would start really little, like all the way down in grade 1. If you're in classroom, I would start off the year by maybe after Christmas break, you could start talking about posting and commenting and build in a bit of a routine. And it could be even just, what's your favorite food you had over the holiday break? That could be something you could use this for. That would be really simple and easy and be pretty cool. Okay. Questions? Any questions about questions? Or stream or anything else? Going once, going twice. Okay, the last one you can do is reuse post. This just basically lets you, and unlike me, you won't have this many unarchived classes floating around because you probably aren't creating dozens and dozens of classes like me. But let's say a little while ago, I was in my other class, or last year, there was this one thing that I really liked, and I'm going to reuse it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to double click on Dover Court. Oh, you know, I'm zoomed in, that's why. There we go. I'm going to select the class that I had it in. Might be last year's class. And I'm going to reuse this assignment. And I want to create new copies. So it totally divorces the old class from the new. If you had a post in the past where you left it where everyone could edit, and you reuse it and you don't create a new copy, it'll just add on to that pile of editors to that old doc. So you kind of probably want to leave that on by default. And reuse. And what it's going to do is pop up that thing again. So it just posts it. And it lets me go in. So if I wanted to change some of the settings, I wanted to add this, I wanted to copy this out, I wanted to go in here and change something, it doesn't just auto-post it, it just brings it forward into a new post ready to go. I won't send that. Now, email notifications. How many of you really, really like getting emails every time a student shares a document with you? I sure do. Oh, David, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? You're uncomfortable. We'll talk after. If you go under the 3 little hot dogs on the top left there, and you scroll way down to the part that nobody looks at, where it says settings, you kind of have one setting, and that is whether to send or not send email notifications. I have mine turned off, so every time you guys click on start an assignment, I don't get an email. Your students can uncheck the email that they get as well. Elementaries usually don't, they have one teacher most of the time, 1 or 2, so it's not overwhelming. I could see high school students who are in 4 classes, or junior high students who are in 6 classes on 2 sports teams, getting like 20 emails a day. They might want to turn that off. Knowing that no matter what, the students can always go back to their assignments list, and it's all of their classes in chronological order, okay? So whether they get the emails or not, the assignments go into the queue. It's a to-do list is basically what it is. It even says to do. And it keeps track of what they've done. The master list, right? So this is all of their things. I have not finished an assignment. I'm sad about that. And then they can also, that's all classes by default. They can actually go in and just sort through their classes. So students can get emails. Students can go to the assignment list. And also, oops, this is what I did this custom image for Dover Court. I just stuck their school picture in it, so that was pretty fun. That's sort of that view. They also at the top here have their calendar view, which will actually just show them the same exact information in a calendar. But it will also show more than assignments. It'll show questions and assignments and postings. Only questions and assignments. It only shows things with a date. So if you post a class news, class announcement, it just isn't there because there's no date. Otherwise it would have to be up forever, right? So you can go through here. We'll be making a video, probably my next after school special next week, will be how to embed this calendar into School Zone. So for your parent question, how do parents know? Up till now, a lot of teachers have done this. They've put a year-long homework assignment in School Zone that says, show your parents your classroom account. Like, show your parents' classroom, because parents cannot see it, nor will they ever see the details. What we can do is this also creates a calendar. So, sorry, I better do it first. If you go into the About, the new button here basically says, open in Google Calendar. So it's going to actually create a proper Google Calendar. So if I turn off my calendar, you'll see here are the assignments, right? And I'll turn off the holiday and the weather. So these are the 2 assignments I posted. They're in this calendar. One of the things we've been able to do for years is take this calendar and put it into School Zone. We can embed it, and we're going to make a video, so watch for the need to know. I'm not going to do it now because we need demo accounts for School Zone and lots of things I need to get into place for that to make sure you see it right. So what you could do is post this to embed the calendar once in School Zone, and any assignment or question you put into Classroom will show up on that calendar in School Zone. If the parents go to the event though, right, so if the parents actually go in there, it gives them a link back to Classroom, which they can't access. So they'll know a student they'll say, Johnny has a spelling test on Friday. But if there's a file attached, they can't see the file, okay? But at that point, if they know that Johnny has an assignment due Friday, and Johnny's right here, and they're on a device, they can just say, okay, Johnny, I see you have an assignment due on Friday. Let's take a look at it together. Because I always thought it was a little weird that you would want to look at your students' homework to help them with it when you weren't with them, right? And because School Zone can do that. You can just generate you can say, show me what my kid's been working, what my kid handed in. Well, we want them to engage their students in working before the deadline, not see what they handed in after the deadline without their permission. So this is just changing it from formative help instead of summative looking. So that's why we really think this is a better feature. That's brand new. Calendar came out like 2 weeks ago, which is why we haven't made that video yet. So I will be making that on my after school special on Tuesday. So I'm changing it. It says it's going to be a read and write one. Don't worry about it. I'm changing it to this. Okay. The only thing is that the calendar is not two ways. If I add something to this calendar, it'll show up in School Zone. It will not show up in Classroom. Does that make sense? I can't do that. And we were having a discussion with Lisa. That's because if you added something that says calendar, Classroom would have no idea what it was. Is it an assignment? Is it a question? Is it an announcement? It doesn't know. So it can't pull back from the calendar because it just doesn't know. So it's a one-way stream. But for parents, I think it'll be a good workaround for our schools. Okay? Now, the app, the wonderful, lovely Classroom app. The Classroom app does add some functionality you don't have on your Chromebooks. Okay? One of those things is it adds, of course. Let's go here. Sorry, my phone's being fun. Gotta link it. So one of the features it adds is the ability to upload. So when you're in the assignment, you can upload anything from your drive, any file you can attach, all those sorts of good things. But what it's gonna wanna do is it also, what it does is it, there it is. So here's my iPhone here on this screen here. Oh, yeah, there we go. Thanks, Terry. So what it does in the Classroom app is it lets you upload things you can't from Drive. So Drive, you'd have to make a video, upload a video, add the video to the assignment. In here, if I'm Amanda, so I'm a student in this class, and I scroll down and I find the assignment, and I go back in here to my stream, and I see I have an assignment, and I want to turn that in, so I'm in here, so it has the instructions. I go to my work, and it says I'm not done. Okay. You'll see here I have a turn in button, but I also down here have this add or create attachments, and when you click that, it actually lets you take a picture, pick a photo, or go to your drive. If I pick a photo, it's actually going to reference my camera reel, and if I have any, even though it says photo, it'll let you upload a video file. So if I go in here, I don't actually know that I have a video file. I have all kinds of other things. This is my home phone. But I just picked a picture. It will upload the file and link it in here. Students can also turn in multiple files as part of an assignment. They can turn in a project that's a video, a written component, and a website. They can upload 3 things for your one assignment. So if you're doing project work and the student made a commercial, made a poster, and wrote a report, they can upload all 3 into one assignment here or there. If you wanted to, you can make an assignment where the students have the iPads in your class, they log into the Classroom app, and you say the assignment is take a picture of something. They can go and do that. They can take multiple pictures. If they want to digitize their artwork to hand it in for you so you don't have to truck them home because they're not the kind of artwork that travels, they can take pictures of their artwork and hand that in, okay? So if your students working on iPads and they're using Explain Everything, and they're annotating text with voice and drawing, and then they save to the camera reel, they can hand that into you through Drive. So they do have to log into the app, and then if they don't remember to log out of the app, guess what the next person can do, right? But for our students that have an iPad to themselves, or in high school or junior high where they have their own devices, they can do all of this the same way, right? The other thing they can do is, you'll see here, they get the same home and assignments list. This is their mobile to-do list. This becomes all the things they have to do. So this is their home. If your school is using it, or your class is the only class that assigns homework, and they have their own devices, which is getting to be younger and younger, but junior high and up especially, some of our stats have said things like, at any one time, we might have tens of thousands of iOS and Android student-owned phones on the network at any one time. So there's piles of them. Just ask your kids. I mean, that's a classroom choice whether you have tech in there or not, but even if you don't, this goes home with them. Their to-do list is with them when they're not with you. It's everywhere they go. So the excuse of, I forgot my agenda, I don't have my assignment, with embedded the calendar, parents can see everything that's due and when it's due and can question them about it. We've really bridged a big gap for online agenda keeping, because their announcements and everything else are there. Field trips, set the field trip with a due date. Bring the form back, right? All those sorts of things. There are some things they can't do that you do in School Zone. Still things like report cards, interim reports, IPPs, all of that still lives in School Zone, because that's not something we're going to post. You wouldn't post an IPP in Classroom for students, because that's not the home for it. That home for that is our secure portal, which is School Zone. So we're really seeing a split here where School Zone is really that parent school district communication portal. Classroom makes a really good classroom communication tool. So that's sort of where the split's coming out between the two. So you can't do everything in Classroom, you can't do everything in School Zone. You're gonna have to find that balance. Yeah.
I've got two kids in the same iPad, one uses it at a time.
Yep.
When they post, will it automatically, will it show both children?
So I'll show you here. I have 3 accounts set up, and you can see there's 3 little heads at the top. They could actually just switch between them by clicking on them. So this is my teacher account. Now I'm in my teacher account. I want to go back to my student account. There's my student account. If you're comfortable with 2 of them sharing and teaching them that, they don't have to log out. If only 2 and you control that iPad when they have it, you can help them with that. You can also click on that little down arrow beside the name there, and then under Manage Accounts, you can just go ahead and remove accounts, okay? This is what happens if you try and add an account that isn't in our domain. So if a parent were to try to add their account, or you add your home account by accident, it just says you don't belong in an education domain, so too bad for you. Because this is really an education tool first, end of story. So no one outside of I guess if you were in another school district, you could get in, but if you're not in a Google EDU account, you get nothing. They may change that in the future, but then that opens up the how do we control whose accounts get added and whose accounts don't. Just like that's why School Zone already has that process built in. Parents register their email with the district. It's housed in there. You don't have to worry about that generally, except for the ones who add emails they no longer use. All those sorts of things. Are there any questions? This is like the basics in general in an hour. We usually do this. We've done this, take up to a half day to get people all set up at the beginning of a school year. That presentation I shared with you, just for your interest, if you keep scrolling down, there's a great presentation by Kelly Fitzgerald, which literally, and that's the link, takes you through everything I've done step by step with screen captures and arrows and text, right? Or if you really, really, really are still wondering, we've had a number of this video stream of everything I just did it will be posted. You can go watch this whole thing over again. And then you can pause it along the way, which you can't do in a 1-hour session. That's why a 1-hour session becomes a half day, right? Because we pause for 15 minutes at a time. or in our EdTech community of practice after school special section, we've done a few classroom sessions over time. Okay. Any of you guys, last thing I say for the end, Rick's doing a more in-depth session on getting Share to Classroom set up later on today. It's an extension, the one we've talked about. And how that works is the students have an extension installed, okay? And that extension, you know, is a Chrome extension, so it only works on Chrome. That can be a Chromebook or the Chrome browser on a Mac or PC. When the students are logged in, they'll see their name up here, just like this. They'll see their name up here, right? And that's how I know they're logged in. So what happens is now, let's say I want all the students in my room right now in grade 1 to be looking at what I'm looking at, this page, this tab, okay? I can go ahead and go into this little extension because it looks at my classroom account and says I'm a teacher. It says, here are the classes I'm the teacher of, right? It gives me a list. And then I go, okay, this is the test class. It's purple. I color-coded it nicely. I want everyone here who's logged into the Chromebook in my class to be looking at this right now. I just push the button. Oh, I pushed the button. And for those of you, you're going to see a pop-up in the bottom right corner that says Will Rice, which is hopefully their teacher, has sent you a link, and it opens it whether they want to or not. So we have really, in the last 6 months, for our youngest students, seen a massive increase in accessibility on Chrome devices, especially Chromebooks. You might have noticed when you first turn on a Chromebook now, the @share.epsb.ca is pre-filled out for those students. So even if they don't have a tile set up, it's only their username. Once they log in, if you look on a Chromebook, along the bottom bar, you'll see the classroom icon. The students don't have to go anywhere. They just click that icon and it opens Classroom. What's even better is that extension I just showed you, you don't even need to have Classroom open. They just have to be logged into the Chromebook. So if you could actually send them Classroom and it would auto-open it. So even if they can't click on the little green button, you can make it open for them. They can close that tab afterwards. There's no way to get around that. But you can, you know, that's a conscious effort on this part. You're going to teach them this, obviously. You're not going to, I mean, you might do it the first time just to see what them freak out, but you're going to teach them what you did and why it's okay. 3 things we've learned. One is, if the student's not with you in your class and you push it, it will pop open wherever they are. So if they're in FSL and you're like, oh, I'm going to push this before they get back, it will pop up with the other teacher. Doesn't know where you are. It just knows if the kid's logged into a Chrome device, if they're at home doing schoolwork on a Chrome device at home, it will pop up at home when they're sick or something. We don't see that as an issue because it's coming from a trusted person. And if they were so basically the worst case scenario is they'd see what you were showing the rest of the class even though they weren't with you, which I don't see a real problem with. 2, if you have co-teachers set up, every push comes from the original owner of that classroom. So when Aaron and I'm a co-teacher in a class with Aaron, when I push from that class, it says Aaron's pushing it. Okay, so if you have a student teacher as a co-teacher and they push, it's still going to look like it's coming from you because you're the owner of the class. They're publishing on your behalf, okay? And the last thing is the reverse is not true. So a student can push a website to you. It doesn't auto-open. It just says, you know, Samantha has suggested a site. So you can go, awesome. So let's say you're walking around the class and you find a student doing research and they found an awesome website you want to share, or they're doing some work you want them to share. You can say, just quick, push that to me and I'll go open it up. So they push it, you click it, it pops up for the class. So they don't have to copy and paste a link. They don't have to come running up and plug a dongle in. They don't have to worry about it. They can just quickly send you that link. And those links get archived. So if, let's say a student pushes a link to you, and later that day you're like, what did they push me? I can go under my received from students and see what was pushed to me recently from my class. There aren't anything because none of you have pushed me anything. So for those of you that have the extension, you could actually right now send me a link to open up. I'm sure no one will do that in such a short demand of time. As 14 people are trying to do it right now. That's okay. So this is all part of how Google's really bringing the ecosystem together. They're taking Classroom, they're taking Chrome. Oh, thank you. I could open this sight unseen if I really trust her. If not, and it disappears, what I can do is go under here, go to received from students. It's going to give me a little link here that I can open. I can open this privately without my screen being on to check it out ahead. Or I can just click on it and really trust that I know what that is. And again, there we go. Oh, Samantha sent me some more French. Great, a video. This is another great way to get video. So if you, oh, sorry, I can't watch it. If you're having trouble getting YouTube links to students, you can actually just open up a YouTube video on every single Chromebook. Right? Just push that link to that page. Be on the YouTube video and just shove it out to the kids. Yeah?
It doesn't seem to push out to an iOS.
No, I think iOS, you might get a notification that something's been pushed. But it doesn't work because there's no Chrome extension on iOS. Android, I think, gives you a notification. iOS doesn't. The other thing it does that I didn't tell you is you don't have to push it live. I can actually just push to the stream. So if this is, let's say this video, I'm like, that's awesome. I want to add this to my classroom stream. When I click push, it's going to go right out to you all. I need to go back because I'm doing a poor job of this. I can push something. And I'm pretty sure there's a little arrow. Where did it go? I'm going to push that to you guys. And along here somewhere, there's the option to, right here under push to students, I can just turn it into an announcement or an assignment. So if I found the perfect video and I'm at home and I don't want to open Classroom and do all the work, I can just say, oh, throw this as an announcement on the web page. Kids can't, you can. So if you throw that there, iOS will give a notification or an assignment that something's been posted. So this is sort of where they're bringing it together. They're making our lives really easy. This is a feature that I'm not sure I've seen on another LMS anywhere, where you can just say, I have this small group of people, I can force something to pop open on their screens, but I'm not taking over their desktop. A lot of them we can just lock their screens and project what we want. This pops it open, but while they're working on a project, I can say, send them the link, it pops open and say, okay, finish the sentence you're on in that tab and then go back and look at this tab. So I can throw stuff to them while they work without necessarily stopping them from doing exactly what they're doing at that time. Does that kind of make sense?
If they're not on, will it appear where they go?
No. If they are not live when you click open, like push now to open, it will not. So that's nice, I guess. The other thing to think about is this. If students are using Read and Write at home, they're logged into the Chrome browser. To get Read and Write, they have to be logged into the Chrome browser. So if they're logged in anyways, now you'll see that Read and Write and the Chrome, those will be a couple that are on for all students. They can't remove them. So for students that are using those tools anyways, they're logging in anyways. So it's just one more reason to have your students logging into the device they're on properly. It's one of the big reasons for the little guys. We tried to get away from things like Kinder as the login to a computer because it didn't let us assign. You guys all know software is going to the cloud, right? Like we're not buying Read and Write anymore. We're licensing Read and Write. That's all based around us having kids log in. They log in as Kinder. We have no idea who they are. They log in as themselves. We know who they are. So we can push content to them. All right? Okay, so I'm done. It's lunch. You guys have a great lunch. Come on back. There's another, if you're more interested in this extension and getting it set up, Rick's running a short half-hour tutorial this afternoon. If not, I'm pretty sure he ran a after-school special last week you guys can go and review, or you can Google it, or look at the presentation because the video link that I just did will be in that presentation. Okay? Thank you guys for sticking with me. I know it's a quick hour for you. Okay, good job, guys. Good job, guys.